Hi, everyone. I'm Denise O'Malley. I'm the founder of You Define Wellness, and welcome to the very first of a new series that we're launching. Now, some time ago, I worked in the healthcare field in an office where the clients and patients came in, and I frequently saw people who were very nervous about it. And conversely, even outside, when I'm talking to people like, oh, I don't know if I want to go over there, it kind of freaks me out. So this new series is to introduce you to what you can expect when you walk through the doors of one of the practitioners. And it is my pleasure today to introduce you to one of our registered psychotherapists, and she does far more than just that, Robin Miner. So Robin, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So let's talk a little bit first about what it is that you do. So can you explain in a quick moment or two what it is that you offer as a service?
Okay. So I'm a body-centered psychotherapist, and there's a lot of meanings of that. For me, I really focus on embodiment, connecting people with all the levels of what's going on for them, including the physical, because by physical, I mean including their bodies, because we so often in our culture are disconnected from our bodies. And I find when people really connect with their bodies, as well as their emotions and their thoughts about an experience, when they connect with the physical sensation, there is a sense of wholeness, a sense of completeness, and things can start to shift and change, and they start to realize new things about the situation. And of course, I help guide them through that process to connect with the wisdom that's being stored in their bodies. So that's my focus. I do a lot. I do trauma work. I'm trained in doing trauma work. I do the ordinary things of life kind of work. I do things that are more developmental in nature that come from childhood. So I have a very broad practice, but the focus is that it is body-centered.
Okay, so people are coming to you if they've have gone through trauma, if they're just dealing with what life is handing them, some of those main issues.
Addictions, that's another thing. I'm sorry, I just popped into my mind. Yes, and addictions as a focus, because so many of us have issues with addictions. Food and weight issues are a specialty that I have within the addiction field, but I do work with all addictions in the same way.
Okay, so the person who's watching this video, it would be sitting back and saying to themselves, okay, man, I'm having a problem with fill in the blank, and I need to get some help. I just don't know what kind of help I need. They happen to come across this video and they say, So, if they didn't come across this video, how would people find you? I mean, what is it that's motivating them to say, okay, this is getting so bad, I need to take care of it?
Mm-hmm. So I would say most of the clients that I get find me through the sensory motor psychotherapy website. So that's the school that I got my training through, the institute that I got my training through, that's the basis of the work that I do. Most people find me through that because they're looking for someone who is body-centered.
Okay.
And while there are many people who do body-centered work, it may be more difficult to find them. So through the Institute is where I get a lot of contact. I have a website, and people look at my website and might see through my website, get a feel for me. Right? I created my website, so they get a feel for me. They get a feel for warmth, compassion, support, as well as some informational pieces about trauma, about relationship, about addictions that are on my website. So that's another way that somebody might come across me and go, oh, well, that person looks interesting.
Yeah.
And I do get feedback about that. Like, I liked your website. So there's a sense, there's a feeling that comes through that is attractive to somebody.
Okay, so before you, I hadn't heard of body-centered therapy. So you explained it a little bit, but how are those words being, how does somebody know to look for those words?
Right. Good question. I think often people start looking for something different when they've been in therapy, talk therapy, for some time. And maybe they see some progress, because I think talk therapy can bring a lot of awareness, a lot of insight, a lot of connection, a lot of healing can be done through talk therapy.
Sure, absolutely.
And often the people that I see have been in therapy for a while, so they've done a lot of healing, but they've gotten to a place where they're going, something's stuck, it's not moving.
Okay.
And I can't get it to move. Their therapist may recommend body-centered therapy, so that's where they might hear the words.
Okay.
I have an inner sense that, like, I'm not connected with myself. I don't know how to deal with this because I'm not connected with myself. They might have an inner sense that there's something missing from that talk therapy that they've gone really far with, but now there's something more that they need. Other people are just more body-centered. So maybe they've done physical therapy, or they've done massage, or maybe that's their professions, right? They might be involved in something that's very much in the body. And so then they're looking at, I have some issues I have to deal with, I want to deal with. So they know they want to go to a therapist, and at the same time, they know they're really connected to their bodies, and that talk alone won't be effective. So when they see my website, or when they go looking on the internet for body therapy, they might put those words together. My name might pop up, and then they look and they go, oh, okay, I'll check that out.
That was a great explanation. Thank you. That helped me immensely. So they find your website. Are they picking up the phone and calling you, or is there a way to schedule with you on your website?
Yes.
All of the above.
All of the above. People pick up the phone and call me. There is a link on the website to send me a message. Yes, or if they've had a referral from somebody else, they might just have my email and they can send me something through.
Is there normally a telephone consultation before they actually see you face to face?
You know, it depends on the person. So if somebody has contacted me through email, they might ask some questions. I'm happy to answer some basic questions before we even get going. And then after we've answered whatever basic questions there are, I'll say, would you like to schedule an appointment? And that can happen on the phone, or it can happen through email.
Okay.
And I really, there's some stuff I'm happy to do before an appointment is scheduled, but then I do like to schedule an appointment, and I'll explain this to people right up front, because I don't think you can get the feel for it just by talking. And when we have an appointment, I really try to do work with people in that first appointment so they can get a sense of, what is the work like? What is it like to work with me as opposed to somebody else? Really get a sense of what would that relationship be? How does it feel to be in the office? Everything, so that they can make a decision about whether or not this is the right step for them.
And so are you working with people online at all, or is it just face-to-face in your office in Denver, Colorado?
I do work with a lot of people online. Okay. Most of the people I work with online are clients I had in the office at one time, and then we aren't in the same place. So for example, I lived in Berlin, Germany for 11 years. I had a practice there. I had a lot of clients. I still have some of those clients.
Wow.
Yeah. Needless to say, we're not going to be commuting.
That's a long ways for a face-to-face appointment. Holy cow.
So I do have some new clients who are internet, Skype or Zoom clients. It's not my preference, because as the therapist, I get a lot of information by looking at my client, by watching what's happening with their breathing, if they're tapping their feet or moving their hands. And when I'm on the computer, I only get this much.
Right.
So I have to count on my client to tell me things, and I'll support that and say, so, what's going on right now, what's happening. But there might be things happening that they're just not aware of. And if I don't know that client pretty well, I won't be able to assist in pulling those pieces together. Whereas if somebody's sitting in my office with me and they're telling me something, and I'll go, wow, you are just tapping your foot a mile a minute. And if that foot could speak, what would it say? And that's where we get into the body, and we get into what is the information that the body is holding. It's saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. But we have to be able to see it. And the client themselves may not see it. This is totally automatic. They don't know that they're doing these things, or they don't know that their body is holding all of this. That's why they're coming to see me, is because they want some support in reflecting that, or in bringing attention to that particular tension, or that foot tapping, or whatever.
So they decide to come in. What happens when they first arrive at your office?
So my office is in a basement, so we go down a short flight of stairs to the basement. I show them where tea and the bathroom are so that they can take care of whatever they'd like, and I do have a little tea station. And then we come into the office. My office is relatively spacious, and so people can look around and see what's going on. I would say the energy of my office is pretty feminine, but not over the top. I don't have frills and too much pink.
No crystal chandelier going on with you.
Yeah, no. So it's neutral, but there is a feminine feel to it. I invite people in, and I check in with them. How was it to come to my office? How, did you have any trouble finding the place? Just really to have someone feel some comfort in talking with me, to let them have a moment to relax, to settle into being here. And just to make it easier, I'll typically start with my spiel, which is, here's how I envision the first session, which is, we need to get to know each other. We need to see if this is going to work, if this is a good fit. And so what I hope you will do is ask any questions you want to ask me. And what I need to get from you is a little bit about why you're here and why you're here now. Why not 6 months ago? Why not wait 6 months? Why now? And that gives us an opening. And I always offer to the client, do you want to speak first, or would you like me to speak first? Typically, people just share their story first. And that's great. That gives us a place to go with, why are you here? What is it that you're looking for? What do you want? And that gives the person a chance to find out, what is it like to talk with me? What is it like to be with me? How do I respond? So that they're getting a sense. And I really look for an opening when they're telling their story to do work. And I tell them that in the beginning. So I'm going to look for that so that we can do a little work, so you can really feel what it's like to do this kind of work, which may be different than other work you've done, and to do it with me. So that's what we do.
Well, it sounds really calming and non-threatening at all.
Yes. And that's really my intention, is to put the client at ease, to help them feel comfortable. I want, now calm is not to say we don't get pretty energetic during the session. But coming in, this is a calm space. It is a very safe, contained space. I want my clients to feel that they're safe, that they're protected, that they're supported. And so I'm always checking in to see if things are okay with them, and do we need to adjust the light level? How, is the noise from outside too much? I can close the window. So that's another thing that I do to help the client feel comfortable and to feel safe, so that they can talk about stuff that's really hard. And I'll talk about that too. It's really, especially once somebody gets going, and maybe they'll stop or they'll freeze. And I'll really say, it's really hard to come into an office and talk to this strange person you've never met before and tell your innermost stuff to this person. That's really hard. So let's just take a moment. Let's slow it down. Let's take it at your pace. And I tell people, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to tell me. Right? Just tell me what feels okay. And I may ask some questions, but if you don't want to answer those questions, that's okay. We won't go there yet. And I make sure the client knows this is always in their control. They're in charge of this. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to step back and just let it all go, because the type of work that I do is more directive than some types of therapy. But it's directive in the way of, what do you think about this? Or have you noticed that? Or how does that feel right now? It's not directive as in, you need to do this.
Right. Exactly.
And I let people know that.
So how long does the first session go?
So my first session is the same as any session. I work a 60-minute hour.
Okay.
And I first session is the same as everything because we have so much to cover.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And at the end of the session, the type of dialogue is, okay, are we going to continue, or how do you do that?
I offer 3 options.
Okay.
So the first option is you can decide this is not for you and you can walk out the door, and I just want you to know I will take no offense. It has to be the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
The second option is you can go and think about it and let me know if you're interested or not. And again, I take no offense. This is about you finding the right fit. Mm-hmm. The third option, and this is all with I start off by saying, assuming this is somebody I want to work with, which is usually the case. Mm-hmm. There are very few times when I've thought, you really need to go see someone else. In which case I will say, I don't think I have the expertise that you need, and I know someone I'd like to refer you to, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody that I'm willing to work with, I would say, I'm happy to work with you. I think that we could work well together, and here are your 3 options. So those were the first 2. And then the last one is, if you would like to make an appointment, we can make an appointment. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then it's up to the person to decide which way they want to go.
So there's no pressure whatsoever. They really are in control of deciding, okay, is this a fit for me? Let's move forward. Or, I don't think this is where I want to be. Right. And at which point in time, and you're able to give them other direction for themselves.
Right. Cool. And if somebody wants a referral to like a different kind of therapy, like this doesn't feel right for me. And I have to say, I've never had that experience because people don't come to me if they're not interested in body connection. But if somebody said, yeah, no, this is just not for me, I don't like that part, and I really want somebody who's going to help me analyze this more or look at problem solving, that's a whole different type of therapy. And I can refer them to websites for people who do that. I can help them find someone who will be a better fit, because what we want for the clients is we want them to have the best fit possible. We don't want them working against themselves.
Yeah. Now, I think there's a fear with people that, when they hear the word therapy, oh man, this is going to go forever and ever and ever. Do you run into that, and how do you address it?
Absolutely. And people ask that. So the first thing I always say is, you as the client get to end the therapy anytime you want. The only thing I would ask is that we have one final ending session to have a good completion, because we're so unused to having good completions in our society.
Oh.
So I ask for that. And people don't always do it, but I ask. You can end any time, but if you do, I would just ask for one session so we can close, so we can have a good closure for you, right? For you, the client. So that's the first piece. Then people will always push and say, okay, but I have this issue, and how long is that going to take? Can you tell me how long that will take? And I always say, I don't do that kind of therapy.
Let me pull out the recipe book and see how long it takes to cook this problem.
That's right. Well, and there are some modalities that really do have a plan, and they say, okay, we're going to do in 12 weeks, this is what we're going to do. But that's not how I work, because I'm working with the client and their body. So I've worked with clients where, like, I remember one client who came in and the question was, should I have another baby, a second child? And I said, I think we can deal with this in one session. Because I was very clear. It's about, what do you want?
Right. They were trying to work through something.
And she was complicating it with a lot of, but there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this to consider. And she was being very logical and practical about it. But in my mind, I was thinking, this is a one session issue, because the issue is, what do you want? Yeah. And it was a one session issue. And I had seen her for a little while. She was not for years and years, but for a while, we had been working on some other stuff. We did that one issue and I never saw her again.
Oh my.
She never came back. But I think that's because there was something really big she needed to complete, and she did. My guess is she went and had a baby. Because that was the end of the session, is she really wanted a second child. And I think a lot of things became clear in that session. And that's the way things can work. Things can be, we can think, oh yeah, that's going to take me a long time to work that one out. And I can think that too. Boy, that's going to take a long time. But we don't know, because when people get in touch with their bodies, with the whole of themselves, not just, here's what I'm thinking, which is a very limited part of who we are. We think it's so big, so much of who we are because we're cut off from the other parts, but it's actually a very limited part of who we are. It's just what we know. There's so much more that we don't know. So when we connect, even when we connect with our emotions, there's so much more. When we start to get into the body and just slow down and just say, really?
Yeah.
What's that about in my body? So when I'm thinking about this thing and I'm having all these emotions, and then I have this sensation in my body, and we're just curious and say, what's that about? Things can open up, and we have no idea how or what will open up. It could be that the whole thing becomes crystal clear, and what seemed like an insurmountable problem is resolved in a session. Or maybe there's another session to integrate, or, but a very, very short period of time. And there are other times when somebody will say, well, yeah, I want to work on that. And we get in touch with it, and it opens up a whole history of stuff that the person says, wow, I never had any idea that all of that was connected to this thing that I thought was not too big. So that's why I tell people, I can't tell you how long something will take.
Yeah.
It depends on what happens as we start to unwind it. Might be very short, might take a while longer, but it's always up to you to decide. And I always also tell people that they might have a particular issue they want to work on, and that's all they want to do, and that's great. Let's work on that one issue, and we're not going to go to all those other places. And then I have other people who come in and say, here's my book of things, you can't say that, here's my book of things that I want to work on. And they're just ready for the long haul. Again, it is up to the client, whatever they want to do. If they want to do one thing and then go integrate that and make that a part of their lives, I think that's fabulous. Do that.
It sounds like it's so wonderful to work with you. That's awesome.
I think we have fun.
Yeah. Well, and I know you, and I know that's part of who you are. You want to have fun. This life should be fun.
That's right. That's right. I once had a client say to me, she said, I never thought that there would be so much laughing in therapy. I didn't think that was possible. I thought you had to suffer in therapy. I said, well, you can do it that way. But I don't think it's necessary all the time.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. And so I have to interject here, seeing as fun and life is just what it is. For those who are watching this video and you keep seeing my head going like this, or you think you're hearing a cat, it's not your cat, it's mine. We have a four-legged house guest right now who is here. When she hears me speak, she has to join the conversation. So that's what's going on my end. So I apologize. So Robin, any last thoughts about coming and working with you?
I like it better when you ask the questions to me. It just makes it much easier to focus.
And we've covered a lot, and you don't have to add anything else if you don't want to.
Well, I'm just thinking, so free choice. Choice is a huge theme in the work that I do.
Yeah.
Non-judgmental, like as a theme. Another really big piece of work I do with clients is on the inner critic, the superego, the inner critic, because we all have it, and it's the biggest block to our growth. And so that's a huge piece of what I'm working with clients. And that's also something then in terms of when they walk in, that it's not that I have to try to be non-judgmental, because that's the basis of what I do is not being judgmental. And I believe that people feel that right from the start, is that whatever is present is exactly what it needs to be. Mm-hmm. So even if somebody is just having a really hard time and maybe they're really beating themselves up and, oh my God, I'm the worst person in the world. If that's really stuck, we'll start looking at, well, what's right about that? So it's just taking the judgment out of whatever is happening, because that's what's causing so much suffering. So I guess I would add that. We haven't talked about that, but that's a really big piece of the work I do in terms of everything, just being non-judgmental, but then also helping clients to address that in themselves and really see where that's coming up and where that's hurtful or helpful to them.
And I think the last point to make about it is also it's a private conversation with you.
Absolutely. Everything is confidential. Yes. Nothing leaves the office without permission of the client. So I do get written consent if there's anybody they want me to talk to. Mm-hmm. But other than that, if somebody called and asked me, what about so-and-so, I would say, I can't even tell you if so-and-so is a client of mine. Yeah.
The only time when you can say something outside of the appointment is if they are talking about self-harm or harming someone else.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. And then I would still talk with them about it. So it would not come as a surprise. Mm-hmm. I would say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to report this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what that means.
But other than that, it's completely confidential. So anybody watching this that is afraid of maybe going and talking to someone in a therapy situation, it is private. And it's understandable when it cannot be. It's by law. So other than that, it's wonderful. So last question for you is, how do people reach you?
You can go to, you can send me an email first at info, at robin-miner.com. Are you going to put that up?
I did not, but I'm going to put the main screen up. Ill prepared today. So here's the spelling of Robin's name.
Right.
So info at
robin-miner.com.
-miner.com.
You can go to my website, which is also robin-miner.com, mm-hmm. and then connect to the form there and contact me.
Okay.
Or you can use my phone, phone thing at 720-550-2577.
And I will make sure that this is put in the comments section when we upload it to YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go back and read what I'm writing about this so that you have that contact information. You can also find Robin at our provider directory at youdefinewellness.com. That's youdefinewellness.com. So that being said, Robin, this was a great conversation. Thank you for being my guinea pig on it and talking about what to expect when somebody walks through the door. And I think that we've dispelled some fears.
I hope so.
Awesome. And for those of you, pardon me?
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And for those of you watching this video, you can go to our website at youdefinewellness.com and find more than 100 videos on there that are resources for you, conversations like this, so that you can, as you're walking on your path to wellness, find the people to help guide you and get to know them in these short videos before you actually pick up the phone and call them. So that being said, everyone have a great day, and we hope to see you on another video.